Welcome to the Florida Masters Podcast. My name is John Barrett, your host. Hey, I'm back with a banger. And not just like a regular banger, but it's my 1 year anniversary of podcasting banger, and we're 40 episodes in. I'm super elated to be on this journey, and I appreciate all the likes, the comment, the subscribers, everyone that followed on this journey. So just like thank you all. I'm super excited for today's guest. Some of my brothers, some of my homies. But before we get into the episode, we have admin tasks we have to take care of because we do what we have to do, right? Please follow us on all platforms at For the Masters Podcast and on YouTube at JB the Masters Podcast. Okay. Hey, the gentleman I have on today's podcast, they're my brothers in faith. I'm super excited to catch up with them and talk, a plethora of biblical topics. So let's get into it. I'm here with Ryan, Proctor, Myron, Jellison. My brothers, how you doing?
What's up,
JB? Good to see you, man.
Dude, I'm excited to catch up with you all, and I'm excited that you all jumped on the podcast.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Yeah, dude. Was really pumped when you reached out and honored to be a part. And dude, congrats on 40 weeks, 1 year. That's incredible.
Dude.
Yeah.
And
drop that on us in the intro. Heads up.
The anniversary celebration.
Exactly.
No, that's right on, man. It's so cool.
That means the world. Like I said, it's been cool. Like I feel like all my relationships definitely gotten better since I started podcasting because we're sitting down having an actual conversation, and not hustle and bustle of the world. And it's been interesting.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to sit down and spend like 30 minutes to an hour just kind of having a conversation, interviewing, talking about things that you probably wouldn't normally talk about.
No, absolutely. And like you guys are interesting gentlemen. So like let's get into it. Let's like talk about like who you are, and then we'll talk about how I met you all. But like so like Myron, let's tell everyone about yourself.
Yeah. So I grew up in Ohio. I was born in West Virginia at the hospital across the river, and then grew up in Ohio. And I currently live in the Wheeling area, in the Ohio Valley area. I'm still up here in that area, and that's where our paths crossed. You got involved with our church up here, the Vineyard Church, that I get the privilege of being the next gen pastor at. So a lot of leadership and opportunity in the church, and staff that I get to work with, and a lot of different ministry opportunities to young people, the next generation coming up behind me. So grew up in the church, found the Lord early, took a little detour, a little detour, and kind of live up my own life and just filling my life full of my selfish desires and pleasures of this world, and realized none of that was really filling me and really satisfying me. And had a moment my sophomore year of college up here at West Liberty University in the Wheeling area, where I got the privilege of being on baseball scholarship and got to play baseball up there. And my sophomore year just really had this encounter with the Lord. And so yeah, man, that's me. I've been doing ministry now. After I kind of found the Lord in sophomore year and got involved with the Vineyard and started, jamming on the worship team and serving in youth ministry, and ended up coming on staff. And so now I've been working on staff almost 7 years now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm married. Been married almost 7 years as well. 7 years this year. Got 3 kiddos, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-month-old. Got a beautiful dog that's 5 years old. So the dog was first, and then we, had 3 kids in the next 4 years, 4.5 years, 5 years. And so, yeah, man, we got a house, and we're living here, living it up, and enjoying life. The Lord's been good to us, and man, we are blessed for sure. So,
congratulations! I didn't know that.
What, on the third one?
The third one.
Yeah, man.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I've been out. Yeah, I gotta come and visit.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
JB, how long you been gone? Have you even met the second one?
My little man. Do you mean my little boys too, Braxton?
Probably not.
Nah, I think it's just my girl. When you were here, it was just my firstborn daughter. Yeah, dude.
Oh my, I'm slacking. Well, congratulations twice.
Yeah, no, right on, man. Yeah, you got to come up, visit the fam, man. That'd be great.
Most definitely. Yeah, I feel like when we all started getting close, it was like I left.
Yeah.
Well, we could blame Micah if we want, but I blame myself.
Yeah,
we could do that.
We can do that. Make him the scapegoat.
I mean, he's not here, so you know,
He's definitely not here. He was episode 3 though.
I know. Isn't it episode 2? I looked back to see when you had him on.
It was episode 2. Oh, he knows better than me. No, that's awesome though. Like that's crazy. I gotta come up. But like Ryan, tell everyone about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, my story is not so different from Myron's. I did not grow up in Ohio though. I grew up in Oklahoma, in Tulsa. My entire life was there. I did grow up in a Christian home, just like Myron did, raised by Christian parents, going to church my whole life and everything like that. And I also accepted the Lord, you know, as leader of my life early on, at like technically around age 4, right? But just like most kids who can say that that's their story where they grew up in a Christian home, there was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of misunderstanding of what the gospel was and who Jesus was. And so I kind of lived my life trying to be the perfect boy and not have any sin, any bad things in my life, and thinking that that was the best way that I could represent Jesus. But you know, I finally like really feel like the real gospel broke through to me around age 25, when I started to realize that, you know, I could be guaranteed a spot in heaven, not because I was good and not because of you know, what other people saw in me, but because of what Jesus did for me, and that his payment was enough regardless of how good of a person I am, and just accepting the free gift of salvation that he offers. And so, you know, that really set me free from that constant struggle of being the perfect one and getting everything right and being good enough. So that's kind of on the spiritual side. And just on the life side, I went to the University of Oklahoma. I played tennis most of my life, and so I ended up playing tennis for University of Oklahoma. That's the Sooners, not the Cowboys. Most people up here don't know. But and so played tennis and studied engineering there, and then started my career as an engineer in a natural gas company. I've been there for coming on 9 years now in July. Moved up here to the Wheeling area in 2018 with that same company, different job, and been here for a little over 4 years now, and life has been awesome. That's where I met Myron within I believe it was just within a month or two of moving up here. And then probably not much more than a year later, I met you, JB, and we had a great friendship. And then, gosh, I guess it was before 2020 that you left here. So
Yep, like middle of 2019.
Yeah.
Man, like I appreciate you all being so transparent about your testimonies too. Because I like similar, like testimony very similar to myself, right? You know, grew up in the church young, you know, dad's a pastor, and again,
You a
like,
PK?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Represent.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
PKs, you know, we run into each other. We run into each other.
Left out now.
We gravitate. Yeah. We're like magnets. We like find each other somehow.
No, absolutely. So very similar testimonies, you know. And I think you know, we grow up in the church, and you know, like you see your friends and they're doing all these different things, and you're like, oh man, like what is it like, you know? And you want to test the waters a little bit, but you know, ultimately, you know, like the prodigal son story, you find your ways back. And and when I met you all, obviously, like you're millennials and you're going closer to God, you're super strong about your faith, you know, just like that Christian atmosphere you're looking for. If you when you know what you know, just like looking for those type of people. And when I met you, I was like, man, you guys are like super nice guys, right? And I'm like, man, these guys are like really nice. Oh, like, man, let's this is cool, you know. And I was coming to the Vineyard. Micah asked me to help out with high school, and my experience has been more young adults. And I was like, I don't know about high school, Micah. I don't know about high school. And then immediately I met Myron. Myron dapped me up. And then we had like this awkward exchange. And then he was like, yo, hey, let's figure this out right now, dude. Are we going to dap or are you going to shake my hand? And it relieved like all the stress. So I was like, we figured it out. And then Ryan, you immediately just showed me the ropes. You immediately just started like taking me around, meeting these kids, having sarcasm with the kids. And I was like, all right, these people are great. And, and then biblically, you got biblically sound, good principles, good morals, just like standing firm. As Christians, we have to stand firm, especially these times, and you're standing firm at the stuff you were teaching these young adults. And I was like, man, these are great guys, and that's what really attracted to me to you all. So I don't know if I ever told you all, but like, yeah, that's what my initial impressions of you two were.
Thanks, bro. That's
I love
awesome.
it, man. Well,
I
I,
love hearing it.
I would say that, it's reciprocated to you. I mean, the first time you walked into that building, you could just sense there's just a presence about JB that people want to be around him. He's a positive person, makes your day better because you've had an interaction with him. And I immediately felt like you were going to be influential in kids' lives because you just have that connectivity about you. And so, man, I just appreciate all the effort and the work that you put in to our high school ministry while you were here for the short term you were with us. But man, it's reciprocated. The feeling's mutual, man. High respect for you, and really awesome to see you grow, develop, and the influence that you've created for yourself, and for other people, and planting the seeds, man. So feelings mutual.
Hey, that means the world. That means the world. It really does. And like I said, I miss you guys, a lot, especially, my weekly dose of like fun, from you guys. So, I see you guys. You guys are a part of the Vineyard Church. So do you want to talk about like the Vineyard and what kind of ministries you all have, the denominations, things like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's let the guy who works there start us off with that one.
Yeah. So I mean, JB, you were involved in our high school ministry, and we got a middle school ministry as well. And so I actually hired Micah, and so Micah's kind of the one that recruited you, JB, and invited you to join that team. And so Micah and I were kind of leading that, and I was in process of kind of developing and discipling Micah to kind of take over full time, in that youth department of running the youth program. And circumstances happened, and him and his wife transitioned out. So and then I kind of came back in and was leading the youth program and kind of rebuilding and restructuring, and ended up hiring some more staff, to develop and grow those leaders to then take that ministry to the next level. And so that ministry is healthy. I think it's COVID's put a very interesting twist on high schoolers' engagement in social events. There was a lot of, the quarantine isolation, separation, I think more addiction to screens, and that's where they're getting their connectivity digitally. And so there wasn't a desire to hang out with people in person as much. And everything they needed was getting, fed to them isolated on their devices. And so it's been kind of a rebounding of how we can get kids in person, engaging in fellowship and conversations and discipleship, deepening their faith and growing their faith. So, but we've been building towards that, and pretty pleased, and got a good team, good leaders. We've onboarded since UJB, like probably a whole new leadership team of young people like yourself coming in and leading in that high school, middle school ministry area. So that's pretty healthy. And then the exciting thing that I'm actually repping the gear, but podcast people can't see it. Sorry if you're watching the video cast on YouTube. But so we started this young adult group called The Way. And just to give like the context of the name, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but back in the early church in the New Testament, the early church when it was forming, there was a lot of energy and momentum that was being made, and the apostles who were discipled by Jesus for the 3 years that he was on this earth are now doing ministry and gathering in homes and grabbing people and doing miracles and drawing people to this movement of Christ followers. And there was this phrase that started to catch on, like, hey, that's the way. Like, they're part of the way. And I think it stems from Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so that phrase, the way, like, you were part of the way if you were following their ideology, their beliefs, their morals, their values, and engaging in their lifestyle. And so we kind of wanted to reclaim and recapture the heart of Christianity all the way back from the New Testament, the original church formation, because one of the things I think, we're not unaware of is there's negative stereotypes that come with Christianity. A bunch of judgmental hypocrites, or, homophobes, bigots, racist. I mean, you name it. Like there's stereotypes that get attached to Christianity. And there's been a lot of horrific things done in the name of Christianity that I would say isn't true representation of real Christ followers. And so we felt like the Lord was leading us to, like, hey, let's reclaim the heart of my movement. It's intended to be. And so we use the name The Way to paint a picture of what young adults can be a part of, something bigger than themselves. Like, this isn't just something that's happening in Wheeling. Like, this is something that's happened globally. Like, you are a part of something bigger than yourself. You're living for something bigger than yourself. You have mission, you have purpose, you have value, you have significance, you have influence. And it's bringing this idea that I think millennials, Gen Zers, young people are hungry for. I want my life to matter, and I
Yeah.
want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so the name was, I think the Lord impressed it on us. It felt strategic, and it feels like this opportunity to bring this just momentum and energy around reclaiming and recapturing the heart of Christianity all the way back to the original church in the New Testament that we read about. So that ministry is exciting, man. We met in my living room for a while.
Yeah.
And that's where Ryan really and I got to kind of connect and became partners in ministry. And Ryan, this dude, like JB, I mean, he's a volunteer, but I mean, he's like just as valuable as a staff member. You know, he's not getting paid, but this dude crushes it, kills it. And what he does is volunteer. Like if you lead church ministry anywhere, if you're listening to this, you need a Ryan Proctor on your volunteer team. Like you just do. Like he's the epitome of rock star. And so he's just a volunteer. But so him and I got to connect in that. We started a Bible study. We actually went up on campus for a worship night, and we didn't know what we were doing. And then we had a meeting in my living room. We went from like 12 people to 16 to 18. Then we go to the church basement, 25. Then we go on this conference retreat or conference down in Atlanta. We come back fired up on this high. Now we're seeing like 40 and 60 people coming to this gathering, and then COVID hits and it all shuts down. And then we've been rebuilding, and we're back to about 70, 80 strong post-COVID in this young adult group here in the Ohio Valley, which is incredible to see.
Wow.
We have over like 150 unique individuals who I know have come through our doors and been a part of our group, and our following on social media is growing. We just dropped a podcast, and that seems to be growing that audience. And we've been leveraging some TikTok stuff to just really get our influence and our reach out there and invite people to be a part of the movement. So Lord's been super good in that, and it's been such a fun thing over the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, with COVID kind of just putting this really unique damper on it all. But so yeah, those are the ministries that we've built. Ryan and I kind of have built the Way movement together, which has been really exciting from kind of the ground up. And his leadership and our work together, I think is with great humility. I'm not trying to be boastful, but the Lord has been really good to us. He's brought really incredible people around us, and man, like just some of the most genuine, down to earth, real people who are hungry for purpose and truth are coming every single week and being in this gathering that we're doing every week. So.
Man, that's incredible. Like, I'm super happy for you. 70, 80 kids. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, 18 to 25-year-olds. So just young adults. Yeah, just young adults.
Especially for the region, everyone listening. Like this is the region he's talking about is like the Ohio Valley area. So it's like West Virginia, like Northern Panhandle, West Virginia.
Yeah.
And they're doing some great work, and these are like gentlemen who are just like hungry. They're super transparent about their journeys, and they address the hard topics, and that's what attracted me to you guys as well. You address the hard topics, like when it came to like premarital sex and things like that. As Christians, I just felt like it was always growing up like, hey, don't do this, but like no one ever like sat down, had a full like sermon on it, and that's one of the first things when we're doing with the high schoolers that we address, and super transparent about your journeys. So like, I knew like that was the outcome, and God definitely has a hand over you all, most definitely. And Ryan, so you come from Oklahoma to Wheeling, you start like volunteering, and then obviously like you're the type of guy that just like go all in. So like, how has your experience been at the Vineyard so far, and like how has ministry changed since you started there?
Well, I mean, it's been amazing, and it really has changed a lot, actually. So, and I don't know, just kind of my journey to the Way, just on the side, that even Myron hasn't gotten to see is pretty fun. Just because I started doing ministry as soon as I graduated from college. I started going back to the church I grew up in and doing youth ministry there, and so kind of did high school and youth ministry all through those early years up until I moved to Wheeling, and then got plugged in with the Vineyard's Youth Ministry 180, as Myron kind of mentioned earlier, pretty soon after moving here. And so that just kind of naturally morphed into young adult ministry, because, you see high schoolers graduate into college students and become young adults, and you don't just exit their lives, you stay involved, you stay connected. So I think that our ministry, I mean, I love the Vineyard. I guess I'll say that the vineyard does not simply follow tradition for tradition's sake. And that's one of my favorite things about the church is we worship Jesus and we focus on him and what he said to do. And we don't cling to the traditions that maybe some of them are really, really good and they have a really great purpose. But when we lose the purpose, they can be really, really harmful for people and point them in the wrong direction. And so I really love that's one of the main things that the vineyard focuses on. And there's a bunch of other tenets that the church has, like all people need people and other things like that we really focus on. But I think as far as how has ministry changed over the years that I've been there, I think for one, we've really grown. Like Myron said, with the young adult, I mean, for the first couple of years, there was no young adult ministry at the Vineyard. There were a couple of attempts here and there to do some young adult small groups, but we really got inspired to create something where, there's 3 colleges in this area, and there's a junior college. And if you extend the outside of the Wheeling area, there's even more than that. And people don't think of it as an area where there's a bunch of college students, but there are literally thousands of young adults in this area who are looking to connect with other people. And so, we saw the need for that and got really excited to start that up and create that place where people could come connect with other people. Like you said, be real and learn to follow Jesus and learn who he really is. And like Myron said, recapturing the heart of what he did. But I think our ministries have grown. We've attracted, I don't want to say attracted. I think that through reaching young adults, we've found a really strong group of young adults who are prepared and excited to lead youth. So we have this huge team of 18 to 25-year-olds who are leading middle schoolers and high schoolers, and that's part of why that ministry has been so energized. And so, yeah, I think that we've expanded. I think expanding and getting the right people in the right roles has been a big part of what's changed over the years. It took, back when me and Micah were in 180, we had some really amazing people back then too, but we struggled to find enough leaders to really handle the load of students that were coming. And so I think that's a little bit of what's changed, is just having more of the amazing leaders available and passionate to dive into that.
Man, that's incredible. Like, that's exciting for me because I felt like when I was there, like there were a lot of youth there, and not a lot of volunteers, but at the same time, like I always just saw it like it would be a super cool environment for like young adults. I just always thought it would be cool, and it's super like amazing to hear that you guys are growing that way. It really
is. It's been awesome, man. It's really cool.
So as you guys been growing that ministry to young adults, what was your biggest obstacle?
Counting COVID or besides?
Yeah, I mean, do we just want to scapegoat COVID and just blame it all on that? No, I think our biggest obstacle is commitment, and so I think time. I think time has been there's higher demand on young people's time when it comes to academics or internships, athletics, extracurriculars, social life as well. There's a lot of pressure on them. And so I think there's just time constraints of where we have so many good things to offer that they can get involved in to then be discipled and grow their faith, but actually getting them to show up and commit to that to where, and I think this is kind of the flakiness in the young adult culture of where they lack commitment or commitment phobia. And I think it stems from FOMO. They don't want to miss out on the next thing. And so they don't want to commit to something because something else might come up. And so really trying to get these young adults to prioritize this commitment over other things, because helping them see that the value is, and when you neglect this and when you don't water this and when you don't, intentionally invest in this, you're going to drift. Yeah. And so helping them prioritize time management and getting them that commit has been a little bit of an obstacle. And then COVID really accentuated that, I think, in the young adults, because COVID caused me to be so flexible. Because I didn't know what was happening week to week. I didn't know who was sick, if I was going to have to quarantine, was I exposed? Can I go here? Can I not go here? And what are we doing? And asked of me and all this craziness of. So then I think it just caused us as a society and even young people of just, I'm going to be way more flexible and not commit because I never know what's going to be changing so rapidly, because things change so rapidly. And I still think we're seeing the result of that. So I think it's our biggest obstacle is helping them see the need to prioritize this above everything else, because it really is the bedrock and the foundation of every other aspect of their life. But I don't think they are quite. Again, I'm not saying our people are immature, and if they're listening, but I just think their maturity in following Christ is, and they don't see the value. And then Ryan and I, we're like, 5-6 years down the road, I'm like, man, like, you don't understand, like, how many heartaches and pains and mistakes I could have avoided if I had just prioritized this in my collegiate years. If I could have just, been more disciplined and committed to it and surrounded myself with the right people. And that's huge. Like, you've got to get around the right people. And so that's what I love about our group. It's big enough. There's diversity. You're going to find some people that you connect with that are on the pursuit of Jesus as hard and as fast as they can, and are going to inspire you to do the same thing. And so that's critically important as well, and kind of an obstacle. That's like one obstacle, I would say. Ryan, you got one?
Honestly, I agree with you. I think time and commitment is actually probably the big one. I think, COVID's the easy scapegoat, but COVID also provided us with a lot of cool opportunities to really grow our core leadership team so that they were ready to be pastors to their peers whenever we really got to get back to gathering in person. So there was a lot of goods and bads from that. And I think, the only thing I would add to what you said on the time thing is it's not just their willingness to commit. And it is and it isn't. We always say that you have time for what you make time for. You have time for what's most important. So we all have 24 hours in the day, and it's our choice what we do with it. But I think that there's a lot more priorities, or there's no night of the week that's everyone's free, and it feels like where I came from in Oklahoma, Wednesday nights were an established night for church youth groups. Churches would have a service on Wednesday nights. It's like most sports, most other extracurriculars knew that Wednesday night was off limits. And I think that up here, that's not the case. That's not the culture up here. And I think I totally agree with Myron. That's probably the biggest challenge is not only do we fight the battle of teaching people what it's like to prioritize, but they truly are forced to make a choice between two things that are very important to them.
Yes.
And it really is a challenge.
Yep, you're right, man. I think that the Bible Belt, or the Southern, like, it is just ingrained in their society, and I think it's slowly even eroding down there too. And there's a whole tangent we could go on of the post Christian mindset and the liberal ideology that's even infiltrating academic institutions that really has eroded all the principles and morals and values and ideologies that are founded in Scripture and even founded in this nation. That the nation was founded on. And so it feels like there's kind of a systematic attack on that might even be, eroding into what we have historically claimed of a Bible Belt, Bible believing, Bible teaching area that really, like, Wednesday night carved out. That's youth group night, or that's young adult night. Like, that's what I'm going to, that's what I'm doing. And everything else kind of works around it. But you're totally right. Up here, 24/7, man, like, there is something always happening. That kids, and again, I want kids to be involved in things. I think it's good. It's developing their character and their views and teaching them things like athletics. I'm a huge proponent of athletics. I think it's just gotten blown out of proportion to the where it's all consuming, and their faith and their commitment to their growing their faith is kind of taking a back burner. So,
no, I agree, and that's beautiful because at the same time, like, I think COVID, like, offered you guys the flexibility, and be able to reach them in different ways that. They're where they are, their attention is right now. And and that's what attracted me to, like, the young adult ministry space just in general, because they see if people like them around their age group that have these certain morals, because, like, as believers, we have to be disciplined, because we die to self so we can live, right? So we're dying ourselves, and we're showing these people, okay, these are what, like, hey, believers, these are the morals, these are the principles we have that we follow the Son of Jesus Christ. And because I think at the end of the day, like, especially millennials, like, we grew up in this weird time frame where we're, like, between technology, and we just, like, trying to handle it. So it's like high depression, high anxiety. So a lot of times when I'm talking to, like, the young adult age groups, it's like, hey, this happened to me, and they kind of, like, shut down, and they're looking for some light, so they're looking for some light. And I think when they come to like young adult, like, focused things, they say, oh man, these people are so happy. What is it? And when you live your life, striving to be like the Son of Jesus Christ, they're like, what's different about this person? We're peculiar people, so we're stand out, and And I think that, and that's beautiful. And obviously that's what I saw in you guys. You're peculiar. You're different. You're like, why are these people so happy? Why are these people so happy? There must be something here. I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna keep coming back. There has to be something here, you know. And you know, so like that's what I think is like super important for us to be involved in the young adults. Well, even younger if we can start, you know. But obviously, like that, the maturity is a little different there. But you know, that's amazing, you know. So you know, there's a lot of people listening here that, you know, they want to grow closer to God, whatever age they are. So I think the biggest thing that, you know, when I talk to people about faith is like, how do I navigate this life as a Christian, you know? And I think with me, it's like, oh, hey, like John, like, hey, you never like drunk or smoked before, right? All right. So like, how do you do that? You know, and I always tell them like, you know, like it's not something that interested me, you know, it wasn't something that interested me. And you know, again, striving to be like the Son of Jesus Christ, like what does this look like? What does this look like? So anything that you can tell or that you currently tell your young adults how to navigate this life as a Christian, you know, I know it's like it's discipline, like pouring into yourself, plugging in with people around you because iron does sharpen iron. So like, I know that's been helpful for me, especially getting back into like in-person ministry, actually going into church on Sundays, you know, and going out of my way to go to events.
Yeah, so I think you know, I kind of want to say something before I answer the question, if you don't mind. Like, I think you were referencing something that came to my mind of these young people, millennials. I mean, majority millennials and even the Gen Zers coming up behind us. They're digital natives, right?
Yeah.
So they know nothing but screens. They know
Yeah.
nothing but content that they can consume. And then if we are trying to have digital discipleship, which is very hard because digital discipleship is not entertaining
Yeah.
and we want to be entertained. And so it is a discipline of I'm not going to scroll TikTok and laugh and be funny, like the dog videos and watch Fail Army and, you know, watch all this stuff that's entertaining and it's giving me dopamine hits and my brain loves it and it's lighting up and I'm feeling good. Digital discipleship's hard. And here's the thing, a phrase that Barna, it's a research company, Christian research company, and I forget the CEO, his founder's name. It's escaping me right now, but
Is it
he
David
said that
Kinnaman?
David Kinnaman, that's right. He said, "Screens disciple," and that has been a profound statement that I cannot kick. Like, and if we're not intentional as parents, as young adult, you know, influencers in you know in our to our peers of like, hey, do you realize that what you're watching is influencing your brain? It is discipling you. You are going to start to think and believe and perceive the world the way those people perceive the world. They're discipling you. So be very cognizant of what you are consuming. And so I think that's the one to answer your question now of like, how do you navigate this life as a Christian? You got to be very cautious of what you're consuming when that comes to media, news outlets, podcasters, TikTok influencers, you know, Instagram influencers, YouTubers. Like, what are you listening to the majority of the time, 51% of the time? Because whatever the majority is, you will begin to think and feel and perceive and believe the things that they believe as well. And so that's why going to church is so important. That's why disciplining yourself to read the scriptures is so important. That's why it's so important for you to have Christian community, peers that believe the things that you believe, to have honest, real conversations about what you're struggling with more than the other media and content things that you are consuming, so that you're always staying in the positive towards faith. Because if you're out of balance, you're going to again begin to drift, and it might be a slow drift because like 55%, 45%, I'm doing pretty good, but slowly over time you will inch away. And that's why it's so important. I think that's the biggest thing. Young adults, digital natives, it's all we've ever known. We're being discipled through our screens, and we just got to be cognizant. I'm not saying or advocating get rid of TikTok, get rid of Instagram, get rid of YouTube. I'm saying just be aware, be mindful of what your mind is consuming. Be conscientious of the content that is permeating your mind, because it will get to your heart and it'll become what you truly believe as a person. And if it's not from God, your life's going to end up on a very different trajectory. And so I would say that's the biggest one, of another big obstacle. And just some advice to young people: just be aware. Be aware of what you watch and what you consume from music, media, TV, Netflix shows, you name it. It all has impact on your brain.
Yeah, I love that, Myron. And I mean, I've heard it said another way. You know, don't we as Christians, as people who follow Christ, like we choose not to be entertained by the things Jesus died for. So there's so much content that when it comes to sexual content in movies and TV shows, that's now just kind of considered a TV show, whereas like
Normal.
it's kind
Yeah.
of pornography when you be honest about it. So like, and it's not just sex, it's it's
Violence.
language, it's
Yeah.
violence.
Drugs.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we have to choose to kind of be different and not be entertained by the things Jesus died for. And but the other thing that I would say, just to not repeat after you on all of my answers, I I think that just navigating life, everyday life as a Christian, and to share the gospel with people and to just show them what following Jesus looks like, a little bit from my own story, like I talked about before, trying to be perfect, trying to be that guy who you look at and that he follows Jesus because he gets everything right, and just starting to realize that that's not it, and one of the mantras that I just say over and over again is vulnerability breeds vulnerability. When I front a perfect guy and like when I would pretend like I didn't have things going on in the background that were sin, that were dragging me away from Jesus, that doesn't enable people to be real with me. That makes them put up a front as well.
Mhm.
And so just kind of going through life and starting to learn how to share my story and share my struggles with other people, like makes me realize that when I am open and honest that, hey, I'm not perfect, and Jesus didn't die so that I would be perfect. He died so that he could save me because I am imperfect. Like I found that being able to share that and being able to
Yeah.
be super honest and real about my struggles and stuff enables other people to do the same thing and maybe find the same freedom in Christ that I found. And so I think that that's one thing as Christians is we want to recognize that, being real and vulnerability breeds vulnerability. Being imperfect is not an excuse to sin. It's not a license to sin. I think we pursue perfection and we embrace grace. We let, when we do mess up, it's not an excuse, but Jesus did die for that, and it's already been paid for and forgiven. So I just want to kind of emphasize that, I guess vulnerability breeds vulnerability and being real.
Yeah. Pretending never helps anybody.
Yeah, that's what you say, Myron. When we pretend, we help no one.
When we pretend, we help no one.
No, that's so real, and I love that because I always talk about like how like the church is a hospital, and the hospital is for the sick. We're all sick,
Yeah.
we're all sinners, and I think a common misconception of like when when they talk to a Christian, we're judgmental, we all these different things because you have your sin of choice, But hey, your alcohol addiction isn't different from me sinning from anger or pornography or any other sin. So we're all in here, we're trying to get healing, and it's like super big and like for me it's just like that's how we should be, and super inviting, super vulnerable about, hey, this, like I'm a sinner too, like let's come together, let's like worship Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I'm actively fighting my sin. Like I'm actively at war against it because I hate it. Because you'll never do anything about your sin until you're ready to do something about your sin. Like you'll justify it, you'll explain it away, you'll whatever until you're ready to, I'm done with this. And then you go to war, you go to battle against it, and you got to link arms with brothers and sisters and say, let's fight this together. And I'm open, I'm transparent, and then they can help you, support you, and pray for you, and encourage you and champion you on. You got this. It's not who you are. That insecurity, that anxiety, that fear, that depression, that addiction, that whatever, that shame, that guilt, that's not from God. And we need to fight this together. And man, you said something that I'm passionate about now, JB, is anxiety and depression, man, like the mental health crisis that exists.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from, this is just my hypothesis, I got no data, is that it stems from pretending. You are manufacturing a perception about yourself digitally and in person to where no one really knows the real you. And you're constantly looking around like, am I being who I want people to think I am? And you're so insecure because you're not comfortable in your own skin. You're always anxious and nervous about whether or not people like you or you're accepted. And if we could just give our life to Christ and say, you are my identity, I'm not trying to impress anybody but you, and I can be real about what's real in my life, gosh, I think the chains of those mental struggles that people were navigating would begin to fall off. They could find healing, find freedom, and find true relationships with other people who are imperfect. Like you said, JB, we're all sinners. We all got our stuff. And if we could just lay it out in front of one another, and the book of James says, confess your sin to one another and pray for one another, and you will be healed. Like, we don't do this enough. And it's
Yeah.
like we kind of understand the idea of like, okay, Jesus paid for my sin, I'm forgiven, but it's confession that allows us to walk out, to walk out in that freedom until we recognize it, confess it, address it. Then we can actually live in the freedom that Christ offers to us through his grace, through his death and payment on that cross, man. So,
Man, this has been such a fruitful conversation, and I think we got to do this more often, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like there's something about community. Like it really is iron sharpens iron. Like, you guys got me fired up, got me energized for the night, before bed. And I'm super grateful for like to have like friends like you guys. I am.
Yeah.
And but before I let you go, like tell everyone where they can find you, what's the Vineyard social, and how they can tap in with you guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, Vineyard Wheeling, YouTube, vineyardwheeling.com, Vineyard Wheeling YouTube, Vineyard Wheeling Instagram. And then the young adult one we reference is the Way.movement. So that's on Instagram, the Way.movements. The YouTube's there, I think it's the Way Movement Wheeling for YouTube. And then the new podcast is called Waster Nation. And so we've coined the phrase waster. Like if you want to be a part of the movement, this Jesus movement that we're trying to reclaim and recapture the heart of the early church, you can be considered a waster. It's not formal. We haven't it's not an elite club or a clique. Like if you just want to join and be a part of something bigger than yourself, we just throw around the term like waster. And so it's this nation. It's reaching the nations. It's reaching the world, reaching the globe with the message of the gospel. And you can be a part of that. And so that's the podcast that we've dropped, Waster Nation. And
that's WAYSTER, in case you didn't put that together.
So Vineyard Wheeling and the Way.movement, the Way Movement Wheeling, and then Waster Nation podcast, where podcasts are found. So,
man, that's incredible. Like once again, gentlemen, like we got to do this again. I appreciate you for jumping on, and like it means the world to me.
Let's go. Happy anniversary. 1 year, baby.
Hey,
for the masses. Love it.
For the masses, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. And thanks for jumping on. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, JB. Love you, brother.
JB.
Hey, love you guys too.
Yep.
Wow. What a phenomenal episode with like two of my brothers. And I'm super grateful that they took the time out to like jump on the podcast. It's been years since I've been around them in ministry, but it shows like these two young men are just like doing amazing things in ministry, and just are amazing people in general. They reference a lot, so I encourage everyone to like re-listen to this episode, re-listen to it. I'll drop all the Vineyard links below, so you can like go tap in with them, get in community. Like if you're on the internet, join their community so you can get all this stuff that's going to like feed you life as you grow closer to God. So again, man, this was a phenomenal experience, and I'm grateful for everyone listening. Thanks for listening for the Masses Podcast.